Welcome to another episode of Roll Up a Pull-Up. So get your blunts rolled and your drink poured. Alright, now what we here on today, Mr. Roll Up? Well, today we gonna talk about this Karmelo Anthony situation out there in Texas, man. Y'all know I did a video about this a year ago when this situation first kicked off. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let's be tweaking, bro. And I told y'all this nigga is gonna get found guilty, bro. It is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? What I'm here on today is basically I'm gonna let y'all see this video that's gonna give a little more clarity on what it is that I had to say about the situation. Here it is a year later. Somebody that's like in that same space with the law, which he is a former officer, is giving his take on this situation. And he giving good detail on it. So I'm going to play so much of it, and then y'all can go to his channel, and y'all can check out his content on the rest of it if you want to. But this right here is just basically going to solidify what I had to say about this situation. Y'all let's be tweaking, bro. Nah, let's get to it. First off, the guy name is the Officer Tatum. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so y'all go check him out. The Officer Tatum. Now let's see what he got to say.
You felt like you were defending yourself, you will defend yourself with hands. You don't defend a non-lethal situation with a lethal weapon.
This was big over the weekend. One of the defense's own witnesses during cross-examination said, quote, "I think Karmelo was in the wrong." Prosecutors added, "Did Karmelo Anthony provoke the confrontation?" The witness answered yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to announce to you.
All right, now, after this, I want y'all to hear that little part, right? Y'all got that. Now he about to go into his promo, which is about a minute long. So we gonna skip that. Now I'm gonna let y'all hear what he got to say. How about that?
Let's give kids an opportunity. We can do it. And I know we can do it because we do it every year. Let's get to 250. We're at 80 right now. Go to angeltree.org/Tatum. That's angeltree.org/Tatum. Let's get these kids to count. Let's get to this controversial case of Karmelo Anthony. As a former police officer, I want you guys to hear me very quickly or very clearly on my take on what has happened so far, right? The prosecution has made their opening statements. The defense has made their opening statements today. Then they're going to make their closing arguments, I believe, tomorrow. However, here is where we're at. The prosecution has made very clear that this was not self-defense and this was murder. That Karmelo Anthony instigated the altercation. He refused to leave the tent. He threatened Austin, and then he took action. The reason that they charged him with premeditated murder is because he said, "Touch me and see what happened," and he know that he had a knife and he's going to stab a kid when they should have went fisticuffs. But instead, he decided to use a deadly weapon in a non-deadly force situation. With all of that being said, they've determined that he should be charged and be convicted of premeditated murder. Now, the defense on their end is saying that he's a much smaller guy. He was intimidated by Austin Metcalf and some of the other teammates, and that it was a spontaneous act of self-defense, which is why he should not be found guilty. But based on the totality of circumstances in the video I'm about to show you, this will prove to you how he's going to be found guilty. And after he's found guilty, I think they're going to have a little bit of sympathy for him because he's young and it was spontaneous and he shows some remorse. They're going to sentence him in a lighter way. But he will be found guilty based on what I've heard and my opinion. Anything can happen. You can have a woke white liberal on a board that just can't see himself prosecuting a black man, and then you have a hung jury. So listen to this clip of the news, and this is proof beyond a reasonable doubt, in my opinion, that they will find Karmelo Anthony guilty. Roll it.
Hi, Bill. Well, the Testimony during this trial has been emotional. The jurors heard from more than a dozen students that were under the tent and saw this stabbing. Now, prosecutors straight up asked several of these witnesses, was this self-defense? And they simply answered no. So Karmelo Anthony, he is charged with murder after admitting to fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf in the chest during a high school track meet last year. Investigators say the confrontation started after Anthony was sitting under another school's team tent. Witnesses testified that Metcalf repeatedly asked him to leave. Jurors were shown grainy surveillance footage showing the physical confrontation lasted just seconds. Now, an 18-year-old witness who knew both Anthony and Metcalf took the stand. He testified, quote, Karmelo said, "You will have to move me." Austin put his hand on his back. I saw Karmelo's hand go in the backpack. We're at a track meet. I wouldn't expect anything to be in there, Karmelo said. Touch me. You'll have to move me and find out, trying to provoke him. Then what happens, the prosecutor asks. The witness says Austin put his hand on him and falls back. How was Austin trying to move him? The witness says it was him trying to move him off his seat, a soft shove. A 16-year-old witness then testified that, quote, Anthony repeated, F y'all, I'm not going to leave. He said Anthony also threatened, touch me and see what happens, while Metcalf told him, I'm not going to fight you. And then notably, this was big over the weekend, one of the defense's own witnesses during cross-examination said, quote, I think Karmelo was in the wrong. Prosecutors added, did Karmelo Anthony provoke the confrontation? The witness answered yes. Now the state rested after calling 21 witnesses. Now the defense presenting their case. We're expected to hear from more of their witnesses today, Bill.
Wow.
All right. That's that. Y'all is tweaking. Now look at my daughter's screen, bro. She cracked her screen, bro. Y'all is be tweaking. You know what I'm saying? How about that? All right. So, let's get down to the get down. Because y'all be tweaking, bro. Yeah, I got the Tito's. Y'all let's be tweaking, bro. Back on my Tito's shit, man. I had to crack the Tito's for this one. Why you say that, Mr. Roll Up? Because y'all go back to the Karmelo video I did a year ago. Back last April, I was on the Tito's, bro. Here it is, a year later. We back on the same situation, so we back on that same drink. Y'all let's be tweaking, bro. How about that? All right. Now, what you got to say about this, Mr. Roll Up? What I got to say is exactly what I told y'all a year ago. I understand the law. I know how the law works. You know what I'm saying? And what's going on right now is the black community is in an uproar. The black community is, trying to play this self-defense role. You know what I'm saying? Here's the problem. And I got to call out my community, bro. I got to call y'all out. I got to. We play the victim role every time it's a black and white thing or a black and Asian thing. You know what I'm saying? A black and Mexican thing. A black and this, a black and that. Every time it's a black person versus a different culture, we always playing the victim, bro. We got to stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? Right is right, wrong is wrong. I'm always with my people. But when we wrong, we are wrong. And for this situation, Karmelo Anthony was wrong, bro. It is what it is. As y'all just seen, what just came out. You know what I'm saying? This is evidence. This is an element of the case. A big element. They had 21 witnesses get on that stand. Bro, you're not going to beat 21 witnesses going against you. It's not going to happen. Especially when some of the witnesses knew the both of y'all. So it ain't like, all of the witnesses just picking Austin's side or something like that. The witnesses know both of them. You know what I'm saying? And they said exactly what happened. Y'all heard the term that kids don't lie. They gonna speak their mind. I mean, I know these kids is going into adults, but they still kids. You know what I'm saying? And they got up there and they said what they said. They wasn't on all of that street shit, keep your mouth closed. No, they got up there and spoke on what's right and what's wrong. Karmelo Anthony was wrong in the situation. It is what it is. Okay, now look. Let's talk about the officer. You know what? Before I talk about him, let's jump in that time capsule. Let's go back in time, man. Y'all know how I do, man. Let's go back in time, bro. We gonna go back to the beginning of time. How about that? We ain't going back to the year 2003, 1997, 2011. No, we gonna go back to the beginning of time, bro. Let's go back to before guns, knives, drugs. When it was just mankind, right? When life started, and I wasn't there, you wasn't there, wasn't none of us there. I'm painting the picture, bro. Y'all ass be tweaking, right? So the beginning of time, we all had these. You win some, you lose some. But you live. You live to fight another day. You know what I'm saying? Pops from Friday. That's his line. Y'all know that, right? But it's the truth. This is what we was born with. You know what I'm saying? So we was placed here to use these if things get sticky, right? But as time evolved, we started creating objects, right? Meaning that these wasn't enough. These wasn't enough to put a person down. Because, yeah, back then, we had animalistic people back then. Like we do today, they was here back then. It's life. You know what I'm saying? So guess what? People started coming up with objects to equalize these animalistic type of people, right? Which is sharp, pointy objects that will subdue the person in a more harmful way than these will, right? It's called a knife. So now we got knives, sharp, pointy objects that we can harm somebody with or animals. Honestly, they was made to hunt animals. You know what I'm saying? But people started using them on people, right? Okay, that's fine. But now we got to be some rules and regulations behind this. If you're going to use these objects to harm people, it has to be rules and regulations behind it. It's one thing if you harm an animal because you need to harm that animal so that you can eat off of it. But when you harming people, now you taking this to another level. So now I got to be some rules and regulations behind it. So as life is evolving, now we got rules and regulations going on, right? Okay, rule is you can't just walk around stabbing people with this knife just because you want to. You have to have a reason to do so. You know what I'm saying? Well, people started taking advantage of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he looked at me too long. He looked at me too hard. He was looking at my girlfriend. He nudged me when I walked past him. You know what I'm saying? People will get equalized behind senseless reasons, right? Well, with that being said, guns are starting to get made now because knives ain't enough. You need something a little stronger, a little faster, more effective. So guns come into play too. So now you got guns and knives to equalize people, animals, whatever, right? With this being said, a whole lot more people getting killed for no reason. Senseless acts, right? Okay, so now with all that being said, the rules and regulations, it ain't enough. Now that shit got to get stepped up. It got to be some type of discipline behind this, right? So the discipline is we're going to make up a thing called laws. Laws mean that if you go against the laws that we put in motion, you go into a place called jail, which is a cage. Just like when animals get put in cages because they too irate and they do too damn much, that's what you're going to go in. You're going to be a human animal being placed in a cage if you don't follow these laws, right? So that's how jail started. Weapons that was supposed to be pointy objects, you know what I'm saying, meant for hunting, turned into killing the people. You know what I'm saying? And the way how the people had to look at it is, hey, if we don't put no rules, regulations, and laws into place, we all gonna be dead. So we have to put a stop on this. You can't just walk around stabbing and shooting people. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody gonna be dead. So this is how the laws, the rules, and regulations all get put into place. It has to be some type of control or everybody just gonna run crazy and run around killing each other, right? So now we got rules, regulations, and laws. And if you break these rules, regulations, and laws, you get put in the cage, which is jail. We gotta cage you. You too irate. You a threat to society. You need to be caged. This is how things started in the beginning. This been here. This ain't nothing new. It's just been evolving over time. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, the law is the law, bro. Y'all ass be tweaking. And again, that goes hand in hand with what I said. You can't be just out here breaking laws and do whatever the fuck you want. And that's exactly what Karmelo did. He broke the laws, rules, and regulations of life. How he do that, Mr. Roll-Up? He showed up to a rival school with a knife. Yeah, that object that we was just talking about, how all of this started, these right here created that object. We created these objects. We had to put rules, regulations, and laws on top of these objects. Now here it is, you, Karmelo Anthony, going to a place where you shouldn't be with an object that you shouldn't have. That's first thing first. The officer said it. With that being said, he goes to their track meet, his rival school's track meet. He not even supposed to be there in the first place, but he went there. He went there and he stood under their tent. The opposing team, they got on, which was Austin Metcalf, his brother Hunter, and a couple other guys. They get on him, hey, you can't be here. This ain't your spot. You gotta go. Let's flip this, right? Let's use this in hood terms so that a lot more people can understand where I'm coming from with this, right? So let's put this in the hood perspective, right? If you in your hood on your block with your homies, right? And y'all beefing with some guys, right? Just say y'all beefing with the ABC boys. Y'all the DEF boys, y'all beefing with the ABC boys, right? Say one of the ABC boys come to your block where you and your DEF guys is at, right? What y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna put his ass off the block. Nah, nigga, you can't be over here. This our shit. Even though y'all don't own anything, but it's just the whole totality that this is our territory. You can't be over here. You know what I'm saying? Or it's gonna turn violent. Something gonna happen. You can't be over here. Same thing with y'all DEF guys. Y'all go post it up on ABC block. Guess what? It's gonna be the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully the hood fellas on here get where I'm coming from now, right? So that's the point. He was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. Now, yes, this is free America. You can go where you want and do whatever the hell you want. But again, it's rules and regulations to everything. And the rules and regulations that he was under was he wasn't supposed to have been at that school under that tent. He wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Right? Number 2, y'all do know that in school zones, they have, what can you say, signs posted around the school. Say, no weapons, no drug zone. No weapon zone, no drug zone. Go around any school, you will see them signs posted up on the corners around the school, right? That is a law. Remember when we just talked about rules, regulations, and laws? That is a law. Those signs not posted there to scare away the gangbangers and things like that. That is law. Those signs just letting you know, hey, this is the law. If you bring weapons or drugs on this premises, you're going to jail. You don't have to possess the weapons or the drugs. If you bring it on these premises and the staff or whatnot, whatever is there, the administration finds out that you have drugs or weapons, you go to jail. Schools are a safe zone for kids. When kids arrive at the school is giving the parents their everything. Hey, we're going to protect your child. We're going to educate your child. We're going to activate your child. We're going to feed your child. And then we're going to send your child home to you safely. Just like how you brought your child here safely, we're going to return your child safely. And that's every school's number 1 rule. No weapons, no drugs. That's the easiest way to cut out violence. You know what I'm saying? Now what's left for the teenagers? These. We're going back to the beginning of time with these. No weapons, no drugs. These. So with that being said, evidently Karmelo didn't have these. That's why he showed up with a weapon to a no weapon zone, period. Right? Okay. Now we got all that understood. He shows up with this weapon at a place he's not supposed to be at. Y'all seen the statements that was made against Karmelo. He telling them, I ain't going nowhere. Do something to me. What y'all gonna do? Do you know what that is? That is provoking the situation. That's not self-defense. You can't go to a place where you're not supposed to be for real and provoke a situation, commit a crime, and call it self-defense. That's not how the law works. I said this in the first video. An example of self-defense would be you walking down the street, somebody run up on you, they pull a weapon on you, or they threaten you, blah, 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 blah. Y'all get into it. You up your weapon and you equalize the situation. That is self-defense. But when you bring violence to a situation, that's not self-defense. Let me derail real quick. Let me use another example. All-Star JR. A lot of y'all want to call his situation self-defense. When the situation first happened, didn't I bring it to y'all? I told y'all that's not self-defense. Before he got locked up, before he got any charges, before everything. When it happened, I brought it to y'all. I told y'all that's not self-defense. Again, y'all got to understand the laws. You know what I'm saying? It can look like this, but that ain't necessarily what it is. And that's why we have rules, regulations, and laws. All-Star went to a place he wasn't supposed to be at. The whole internet knows that JR and Mob Ties is beefing with each other. Everybody knows this. If we know this, y'all know that the police know this. Y'all ass tweaking, bro. So with that being said, All-Star did the same thing that Karmelo did. He went to a location where he knew his rivals would be at. He provoked the situation. Shit happened. Now they claim it's self-defense. It's not how that work, bro. It's not how that work. So, what y'all heard what the cops said, he could luckily get away with that one juror that can say, hey, I don't want to convict him. He young, blah, 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 and get a hung jury. Now, here's the thing with a hung jury, right? I think you got to have like 3 hung juries for the case to be over. So just to say, even if he do get a hung jury on this situation, the case ain't over. He got to like redo that like 2 more times before they could officially throw it out, right? So that's a possibility in this situation. He can't get a hung jury. All it takes is one person to say, hey, nah, you know what I'm saying? It can't happen. But y'all do know that he has a jury of 12 white people in the state of Texas. What's the chances of somebody riding with him? With all the evidence that's been presented. See, we only know a small portion of evidence. Y'all got to understand something. Just because we see all of this stuff on the internet, that don't mean that's everything. We will never know the complete evidence unless we are there in court for those court dates, watching the videos that they present, watching all the evidence that the prosecutor bring up, watch all the cross-examining. You will have to be there to understand all of the evidence that's being presented. Just because YouTube or whatnot throw out a couple of pieces of evidence, that don't mean that's all that they have. That's just what they showing the world. A lot of shit they can't even put on the internet. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, a lot of shit they can't put on the internet. Another thing y'all need to understand. All this evidence being put on the internet, this is new wave shit. Back then, that wasn't going on. You had to be at court to know some evidence of what's going on, things like that. Nowadays, they putting this shit on the internet for content. But they putting on the internet what they can and what they want to. But they not putting everything out there. So with that being said, who knew that he had 21 witnesses against him? Only the courts knew that. Now here it is at trial, where the witnesses have to step up. So yeah, we didn't hear nothing about no witnesses the whole time this case been going on. Again, this case started over a year ago. Now it's time for trial. He got 21 witnesses against him. Not only that, they got video footage of the whole situation happening. And this is where the black community steps in and say, oh, it was self-defense because they surrounded him and they jumped him and blah, 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 blah. That might be true. That might be true. But again, you got to understand exactly why I took y'all back in time, in that time capsule. We was born with these. So these right here is always legal tender, no matter what it is. You know what I'm saying? These are valid. This is what you came out the womb with. So if you use these, guess what? The person that you go against, they got to use them too. That's what the cop told you in the beginning of the video. Because somebody used these on you, don't give you a right to pull out a weapon. It don't work like that. That's why we have rules, regulations, and laws. Because if it did work like that, again, everybody would be dead. Do you know how many times a nigga stole on me, rocked my shit? You know what I'm saying? That don't give me a right to pull out a gun and shoot him or a knife and stab him to death. Like, no, that's not how that works. We was born with these. We was put here to defend ourselves. It's a part of life. We here to defend ourselves and help each other. It's a push-pull situation. But when we create objects that equalize people because of the circumstance of the situation is laws, rules, and regulations that is placed on these objects. And that's the situation going on here. Is laws, rules, and regulations that was placed on that weapon that Karmelo used against Austin Metcalf. Y'all ass be tweaking, bro. He went against them laws, rules, and regulations, which brings him to court in front of a jury of 12 people. A prosecutor that's trying to send him to jail for the rest of his life. A judge that's listening to everything that's going on and that's going to make the final decision. His lawyer that's trying to defend him and help him from not getting buried in this court system. Now he is in front of all of these people. And the worst part is he got to watch 21 people get on the stand and go against him. 21 people that he probably see daily. Now they on the stand pointing at him. Hey, he started this. He provoked this. He did this. Not only all that, do y'all know that Karmelo stabbed Austin in the heart? He stabbed him in the heart, bro. He didn't hit him in the arm, the shoulder, the hand, the heart. Not the lower abdomen, not a liver, a kidney, the heart. He went for the most vital organ in your body. The heart is more important than the brain. You could live with half a brain or, some shit like that. You probably be stupid as hell, but you could live with some of your brain missing. Or probably all of it. Again, you be brain dead, don't know shit, but you probably be still alive. You can't do nothing to the heart. That's why the heart is protected. It got a rib cage, bones, all type of shit that's protecting it. Because it's very sensitive. That was the organ that Karmelo went for. I hope y'all know in court they using that against him as well. He went for the heart. He didn't go for the neck, the cheek, elbow. No, he went for the heart. The heart pumps blood through the whole body, which keeps the body going. Without the heart, you have nothing. When the heart shut down, the whole body shut down. The brain shut down, everything shut down. When that heart is done, the body is over with. No matter how strong you is, how big, tough, blah, 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 healthy, whatever. When that heart shut down, it's over with. And that is what Karmelo went after. He went after that organ that he knew will more than likely put this guy down. And that's exactly what happened. And now he trying to claim self-defense. It's not going to work, buddy. Sorry to tell you, it's not. All right, now we got all that out the way. Let's put it like this. I'm about to wrap this shit up, right? The meat and potatoes of this shit, right? Y'all ass tweaking, bro. When he gets sentenced, because he gonna get found guilty. They deliberating today. You know what I'm saying? So that means they gonna have a decision real soon, whether he's guilty or not. You ask me, he about to get found guilty. That's that, right? Now, when it's time for sentencing, because of the fact he caught this case at 17 years old, he might get a juvenile lifer situation. Just like what the cop was saying, they might be lenient on him, he might not get banged and get the rest of his life. He might just get a lot of time or whatever. This is where that comes into play, right here. More than likely, he probably gonna get a juvenile lifer, right? Meaning that he probably gonna do a few years in prison and then he'd be eligible for parole, right? Because the way how they gonna see it as he probably didn't know much, blah, 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 give him a second chance, right? So that might be what happened. He might get a juvenile lifer. But again, we talking about the state of Texas, man. They might say, fuck that. They might charge him with the adult and give him the rest of his life in prison. We don't know yet. But what we do know is that everything is against him. He don't have nothing working for him. Nothing. Self-defense, nothing. Austin running up on him, none of that. Because if he was where he was supposed to be, this situation wouldn't have happened. Just like the black community saying, if Austin wouldn't have never ran up on him, he'd still be breathing. Well, if Karmelo didn't show up to a track meet he wasn't supposed to be at, he wouldn't be in jail. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You know what I'm saying? This is why we have rules, regulations, and laws to subdue people that want to equalize people for no reason. Y'all ass be tweaking, bro. So, again, one more time. Before the jury is done deliberating and come up with their decision and the judge hand down his sentence, I'm telling you, this is what Mr. Roll-Up got to say. He gonna get found guilty by the jury, and the judge gonna sentence his ass more than likely probably a juvenile lifer. If he don't get a juvenile lifer, he probably gonna get something like 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Even with a juvenile lifer, he could still get sentenced to 15, 20 years. You know what I'm saying? It'll just be more than likely he not gonna do the rest of his life in prison. But he about to go do some time. You know what I'm saying? And now on the flip side, let's just say he do beat the case and he do get found not guilty and he get to go home. Guess what? Mr. Roll-Up be right here to make a video on it and apologize for the situation. Because at the end of the day, I'm a man. I stand on mine. You know what I'm saying? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not perfect at all in no way, form, or fashion. And I'm not there in court. So I don't know how they gonna play things or things like that. I just know the law and how things break down. You know what I'm saying? So again, if I'm wrong, I come back, I will apologize and I will stand on it. You know what I'm saying? But out of 10 times, 8 of them, I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to the law. So we gonna see how this shit play out, but I'm standing on it. The same thing I said a year ago when this first happened, it's the same thing here. I just had to bring y'all a little clarity so y'all get what I'm saying. So y'all not, oh, Mr. Roll-Up just talking, trying to get some views and shit. Ooh. Nah, baby. This came from a police officer. You know what I'm saying? He might not be the judge. He might not be the prosecutor. He might not be the lawyer. But guess what? Guess what he is? He the person that brings you to them. Because they not going to come out and come get you. They hired him to come get you. So he knows something about what's going on. He not no blind eye. He not no content creator looking for some attention. He is a part of that system. Well, was a part of that system. He was a part of that system. So he understands how this goes. And he know more than me, if anything. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man. It's a sad situation, bro. But us as a community, we got to do better. We got to take accountability. We have to be there for our children. And we got to stop victimizing ourselves, man. Or the same cycle going to keep on continuing. And we going to keep on going through the same shit over and over with the same results. Y'all ass be tweaking, bro. It's been another episode of Roll Up a Poet. So get your blunts rolled and your drink poured.